Today is Sunday, Chavches Menachem Av, Tavshin Gimel. We are in Teres Menachem, Sefer Mamar Tavshin Aleph Tavshin Yud Beis, in the Mamar of Simchas Torah Tavshin Yud Beis, Lehavin Inyan Simchas Torah, and we are up to page Kuf Nun at the top. Three lines from the top at the full stop. Ve'ein ze bestira. The Rebbe asked, the question is, what is the idea of Simchas Torah? And here the Rebbe translates Simchas Torah as meaning the Jewish people making the Torah happy, adding joy in the Torah, which is the idea of adding something into Torah that the Torah doesn't possess on its own. The Rebbe discussed what could we possibly add in Torah? Because Simchas Torah means that you make the Torah joyous, you add something in the Torah in all levels of the Torah. The Rebbe mentioned the fact that there is Torah that's called Yerusha, Torah as an inheritance, Torah that you acquire, pretty strong smell actually, Torah that you acquire Torah that you acquire through toil, but then there's Torah Torah that you acquire as a gift, that is given to you as a gift. A gift means, whereas if it's an inheritance or it's through toil, it's connected to the person. But if it's a gift, that's based completely on the bestower. So in the idea of matana of Torah in particular, what could we possibly add? So to explain that, the Rebbe began by quoting a pasuk. It says, Everything that is called with my name and for my honor, I have created it, I have formed it, and I even made it. The Rebbe began to explain that Kvedi, Hashem's honor, refers to the Torah, Ein Kavod El Torah. Shmi, Hashem's name, is Yud Kei Vav Kei. And that which is called by Shmi, by Hashem's name, is Neshamas Yisrael, the Jewish people. The Rebbe began to explain that Shem Havaya includes within it all the four worlds. And not only all the four worlds, but within each of the four worlds, it also includes the 10 spheres, the 10 divine attributes of Chochma, Bina, Das, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchus. I want to focus in on this Nekuda before we go on this point. Just to elaborate on the idea of Yud Kei Vav Kei referring to the four worlds and Yud Kei Vav Kei referring to the 10 spheres. I'll post this piece of paper after the Shiur online so you can refer back to it. It's something that I wrote quite some time ago in reference to something else, but exactly this is the point over here, the idea of Yud Kei Vav Kei. So when you say Hashem, God, there's Hashem, his very essence, the very essence of Hashem. Hashem's essence is totally independent of any other existence. Everything depends on Hashem, and Hashem depends on nothing. Hashem is Etzem, the very essence of Hashem. Therefore, that is the only true existence, is Hashem. Independent existence. Then there is the way in which Hashem communicates with the world, or the way Hashem interacts with the world. And for that, Hashem created, as it were. Oyer Ein Sof is infinite light, which means an emanation from Hashem, right? And ultimately, the Seder Ishtalshel is the order of descent. And that is through which, that's the system Hashem created and chose for his method of creating the world and communicating with the world. I'll just read to you. The creative process is called Seder Ishtalshelus, the chain order of creation. It's made up of various linked parts, if you will, or levels, like a link chain that are linked one into the other. One linked the lower one linked to the higher one, and so on and so forth. So they're all linked one to another, and they are interconnected until they come down to the bottom. Generally, within Seder Shtalshalus, there are 4 worlds or realms. Atzilus is the highest realm, means emanation. Bria, the realm of Bria, creation. Then there's the realm of Yetzirah, formation, and Asiyah, action. We are in the physical world of Asiyah. Each of these worlds has a spiritual infrastructure. The components of this, the basic components of this spiritual infrastructure are known as the 10 spheres, the 10 divine attributes. These 10 are 10 modes or attributes through which God manifests himself in those particular realms. And in Seder Shtalshalus, the chain order of creation. What is the idea of, why is it called sphira? The word sphira is related to the verb lesaper, which means to express. Sipur, a story, right? To express or communicate. The function of a sphira is to express a creation. The function of a sphira is to express a certain attribute. Chokhmah, wisdom, bina, and so on and so forth. It's also related to the word sapir, otherwise known in English as sapphire. A sapphire is a gemstone that is brilliant and illuminating. Spheres have 2 basic functions. One as lights or luminaries that serve to reveal and express Hashem's spiritual energy, and another as a limiter and definer of that light and energy, so that the specific qualities are manifest. Otherwise, it would be Hashem's great revelation would be too powerful. So each sphera, some of this might be basic and you might know this, but let's go through it anyway. Each sphera is made up of 2 components. Oir, in Hebrew meaning light, and keli, the Hebrew for vessel. The lights of the spheres are simple and formless. They reflect Hashem's infinite power as revealed within the spheres. The vessels have specific characteristics and thereby reveal Hashem's power of limitation and finitude. It is through the spheres that the Ein Sof, which by definition is infinite, creates and conducts the finite worlds. The revelation of godliness within a given realm or level within the Seder Shtalshalus is that directly proportional to its spiritual distance and or its proximity to the, quote, beginning, so to speak, of Seder Shtalshalus. Meaning to say, the higher levels of Seder Shtalshalus are closer to the source and therefore have greater revelation of godliness. The lower ones are further, so to speak, notionally, from the source and therefore have lesser revelation of godliness. The names of the 10 spheres we know are what? Chokhmah, Bina, Das, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchus. Chokhmah meaning wisdom, Bina understanding, Das knowledge, Chesed kindness, Gvura strength, Tiferes beauty, Netzach victory, Hod splendor, Yesod foundation, and Malchus kingship. The 10 spheres are divided into 3 categories: intellect, emotions, and actualization. The first 3 spheres, Chokhmah, Bina, and Das, are related to what? Are the intellectual aspects of the spheres. The next 6, Chesed through Yesod, are the emotions, and the last sphere, Malchus, is the actualizer. Chokhmah and Bina are also called father and mother, right? Just like the physical father and mother give birth to offspring through their union, so to Chokhmah and Bina give birth to the emotional aspects of the spheres through the union of Chokhmah and Bina. Das represents the function and the binding of this union of Chokhmah and Bina, the connector between Chokhmah and Bina, and ultimately giving birth to the Midas. The various names of Hashem, when we say Yud Kei Vav Kei, or we say Elikim, or Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, and so on and so forth, they actually describe varying attributes and qualities, godly attributes and qualities. Hashem's 4-letter name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, otherwise known as the Tetragrammaton, right, 26, the numerical value of Yud Kei Vav Kei, encapsulates within it the 4 worlds of Seder Shtalshalus, and also all the 10 spheres of Seder Shtalshalus. Exactly the point we're learning here in the Maimon. And this is how. Yud is Chokhmah. This is because Chokhmah, the sphere of Chokhmah, is a seminal point. It's just the beginning, just one point, and therefore it's likened to the letter Yud, which is shaped in the form of a point. Hey is Bina. Bina is the expansion of Chokhmah. which can be likened to the length, width, and depth of the letter Hey. As mentioned above, Das is the binder of Chochmah and Bina and is therefore sometimes not listed separately. Vav represents the 6 emotions. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. Vav, the numerical value of Vav is what? 6. A reference to the 6 middos. And also the length of the Vav represents the drawing down of the intellect into the emotions. Hey, the final Hey is Malchus, the broadened dissemination of the idea. Taking that flow, divine energy, and expanding it. So Hashem's 4-letter name and the 4 worlds. Yud is Atzilus, emanation. Why? The word of Atzilus comes from the Hebrew word Eitzel, which means next to, or emanated from. Hatzalah v'afrosha, we're going to learn about it soon. This world is the next stage after the Tzimtzum of the Or Ein Sof. There is, of course, as we know, Atzilus, V'ri Yitzir Asir, the 4 realms, which is the prati, the detailed worlds, right? But then there's also Atzilus, the Klolos. There are the 4 worlds as they are in the higher levels. This blueprint, if you will, this what's the word? This template repeats itself throughout Seder Ishtalshalos. So it's Atzilus, V'ri Yitzir Asir, HaPratim, the detailed ones. Then you have them in the higher levels as well. Okay? So Atzilus is the world that is next to or after the Tzimtzum of Ein Sof. That's why it's called Atzilus Eitzel, near the Ein Sof. The world of Atzilus is still within the realm of the infinite. The novelty of Atzilus is the delineation between the Sephiros. Each one becomes identifiable in its own right, as opposed to the higher levels where all the 10 attributes are combined as one and are not discernible as 10 individual forces. The Yud is shaped in the form of a dot and is the smallest letter from which all other letters are conceived. It is the quintessential point from which all further existence may develop. As explained earlier, the letter Yud also corresponds to the sphere of Chochmah. Although all the 10 spheres are present in every world, one sphere or a group of spheres is or are predominant at each stage. So in other words, each of the realms, despite the fact that each one of the realms has all the 10 spheres within them, but in each realm there will be a predominant sphere that is specifically associated with that realm. The dominant sphere in the world of Atzilus is Chochmah. The world of Atzilus is the revealed potential of further creation. By the way, a lot of this stuff you can also find in Rabbi Dubov's book. I think it's called something Kabbalah. What is it called? He wrote a book on Kabbalah.
That's where Moshe Rabbeinu emanated from. We learned in a class quite some time ago. Atzilus.
And Neshama Atzilus, precisely.
Yeah, but with the attribute of Chochmah.
Correct. As opposed to the other souls, usual souls are from the union of the Midas, and they're born actually in Bria, the lower realm. He was from the union of Chochmah, and he was in Neshama Atzilus, precisely. Hey is Bria, creation. In Bria, the initial concept of Atzilus has been broadened, both in length and depth. As mentioned above, the letter Hey corresponds to the sphere of Bina, which is the predominant sphere in Bria. So again, you have the 10 spheres in Bria, but the predominant sphere related to the realm of Bria is Bina. Bina takes the initial concept of Chochmah and develops it in all its detail. Similarly, the world of Bria takes the initial manifestation of the spheres in Atzilus and creates with them some form of existence which starts to take on independence. That begins in Bria. That's why it's called Bria, the world of creation. What is felt in Bria is also divine, however. What is felt in Bria is also divine. Right? So you still feel godliness. However, unlike in Atzilus, there is now something outside of God that is aware of Him. So there's something that has an independent consciousness, as it were, and is aware of God. Bottle, nullified. Tremendous revelation, but nonetheless, some independent form of existence. That's why angels begin to be created in Bria, and so on and so forth. It is for this reason that the world of Bria is called the world of the divine throne. When we say Olam HaKisei, the world of the throne, where is Hashem's Kisei HaKavod, the celestial throne? That's Olam HaBria. In essence, a throne is a chair upon which man lowers his posture. So too, the divine throne is the idea of the divine lowering itself to come into contact with the worlds. The lowering of the posture takes place in the world of Bria. It is also in the world of Bria that we find the creation of the highest angels called Seraphim. with the exception of some great tzaddikim, also the souls of man are, as you just mentioned, are from the realm of Bria. Moshe's soul was one of those exceptions that he was what? His soul was a soul of Atzilus, as you just mentioned. The Vav is Yitzira, the world of Yitzira formation. It is in this world that finite plans are drawn up for actual creation. The predominant spheres in this world are the emotional spheres, from Chesed through Yisod. As mentioned, Vav numerically equals the number 6, a reference to the 6 attributes. This is where the emotional attachment to the project of creation forms, and it takes on momentum. Creation no longer is merely a concept, and concrete steps are being taken to actualize the idea. This is the realm where we find the angels known as Chayes HaKodesh, the holy beings. The angels in this world take on names corresponding to the spheres. For example, the angel Michael corresponds to the sphere of Chesed, Gabriel to Gvura, Rifal to Tiferes, etc., etc. When we recite Kedusha, in repetition of the Amidah, we say Kodesh 3 times. Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. This is a reference to the angels of Bri, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Each one holiness in their own turn and in their own level. All of whom pay homage, of course, to Hashem in their different ways. The final Hay is Asiyah, the realm of Asiyah creation. Here is where the creation is actualized. The divine creative flow from the world of Yetzirah flows down through the angels into the creation of the 4 kingdoms. As we mentioned, mineral, vegetable, animal, and human. The predominant sphere in this world of Asiyah is Malchus. Malchus suggests sovereignty, the idea of a distant king ruling over willing subjects. Asiyah is the world in which the creation takes on a form of apparent total independence, yet it is the place where the subjects accept Hashem as king. So it goes on and on and on, right? The point being, again, I said I'll post this, please God. You can read about it. You can read it at your leisure after the Shiur. But these are the points that are relevant to the text that we're learning here. Yeah.
2 important concepts you haven't included in that lovely summary. One of them is the question of ascent. You've spoken about descent, but you haven't spoken about ascent.
Right.
And the other concept is you often mention the higher is balanced by the lower. There's a mirror image. We are made in the image of God. Where does that come into this story? The concept, descent and the image. Dome.
Well, the fact of the matter is that man possesses qualities that you find in the upper realms.
Yeah, but you haven't spoken about it in the Historians. Where does it come in?
Well, there is a section, I'll post it later on, but there is a section where it describes also Yud Kei Vav Kei so far as the godly soul is concerned.
Okay.
Man's godly soul, the Nefesh Elokis, also corresponds to Yud Kei Vav Kei. The animal soul corresponds to Yud Kei Vav Kei. The land of Israel corresponds to Yud Kei Vav Kei. Okay? So in the soul there is, I don't want to go into the details now, but there are 5 levels to the soul. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yechida, right? In ascending form. So Nefesh through Yechida, or Yechida through Nefesh, are Yud Kei Vav Kei, and then there's also a section describing what Yechida is. But read it at your leisure after the Shiur, because I want to just focus in on the points here that are relevant to the text that we're learning. So Hashem's name, Shem Havaya Yud Kei Vav Kei. Let's start from the bottom of Kuf Mem Tes. V'ha Inyan hu. V'ha Inyan b'zeh. What time is davening today? 8:15. V'ha Inyan b'zeh. What is the idea in this? What's the to explain this idea of what Shmi? When Hashem says, "My name," the Shmi hu Shem Havaya. The bottom, very very bottom of Kuf Mem Tes. Shmi, my name, Hashem's name is Shem Havaya. Yud Kei Vav Kei. The name Yud Kei Vav Kei. Shekoilel kol daled elmis atzilus b'ri yitzira asiyah. Yud Kei Vav Kei includes within it all the 4 worlds of Atzilus, Bri, Yitzira, Asiyah, as we just summarized, that I just read to you. Yud ba'Atzilus, the Yud is related to Atzilus, the top of Kufnun. Hey bebriya, Hey is related to Briya. Vov bi Yitzira, the Vov is related to Yitzira. The Hey achreina ba'Asiyah, and the final Hey is related to the world of Asiyah.
When you talk about God's name, when Moses asked God what his name is, he said his name is Eheyeh.
Okay. You know what? I will post not only the summary, all of that is in this paper. It's a long topic, and obviously there are different names, and Hashem refers to, as I mentioned before, that each name of Hashem refers to a different revelation of Hashem. In other words, Hashem communicating and revealing himself in a particular dimension or in a particular mode. And each name is related to a different mode of Hashem's revelation. Okay? You'll read about it in this paper. But here we're focusing specifically on Yud Kei Vav Kei. So Yud Kei Vav Kei makes up the four worlds of Ishtalshalos. Atzilus, Bri, Yetzirah, Asiyah. The chain order of creation. In more detail, in more detail, Yud Kei Vav Kei includes within it, represents all the 10 divine attributes of Atzilus. And we just explained what the idea of Sphira is and why it's called Sphira and so on and so forth. Again, how? Yud b'chochma, the Yud represents Chochma, Hey b'bina, Vav b'zoh, Zoh is Ze'er Ampin, meaning the small face, which is a reference to what? To the 6 midos, the 6 emotional attributes or spheres. The Hey Achreda b'malchus, and the final Hey is related to Malchus. So now we have Yud Kei Vav Kei as it is, as it represents the 4 realms, and also Yud Kei Vav Kei as it represents what? The 10 divine attributes. It seems to be a contradiction. Make up your mind. If Yud Kei Vav Kei represents the 4 realms, and you also say now you're saying that the Yud Kei Vav Kei represents what? The 10 attributes. And what, so far as the attributes are concerned, Yud is what? Chochmah. So how could Yud represent Atzilus if Atzilus possesses within it all the 10 attributes? So he says it's not a contradiction. Why? Because that's another point that we mentioned in the summary. Because the 10 attributes of Atzilus are the one that nest in the 4 realms of Atzilus B'ri Yitzir Asiyah. Meaning to say that each one of the 4 realms has a predominant sphira which is most dominant in that realm. Notwithstanding the fact that that realm has all the 10. Right? But which one is the predominant one? So in Atzilus, for example, Abba Ilah, the higher father, meaning to say Chochmah, Yud, Mekana the Atzilus, nests where? In the realm of Atzilus. Ema Ilah, the higher mother, which is a reference to what? Bina. Bikursaya, that is the predominant divine attribute in the world of the throne, which is what? Bria. Which realm? Bria. She's Sfirin.
What was the in Bria?
Bina.
Bina.
What he calls Ema Ilah, the higher mother. The lower mother is Malchus. The lower father are the Midas, right? But so Chochmah is in Atzilus, predominant. Bina is predominant in the world of the throne, which is the world of Bria. She's Sfirin, the 6 emotional attributes. Zoh, Ze'er in the small face, as it were. Vov, 6, Bi Yitzirah, that's the Vov of Yud Kei Vav Kei, is predominant in the realm of Yitzirah. And he says over here, Matat. Matat is the angel, Matatran, who is known as the minister of interior of the world, as it were. Okay? Let's hold that thought for a moment. The Oifan, and then the angels that are known as Oifan, Malchus, Hey Achrena is the final Hey of Yud Kei Vav Kei, and that's Ba'asiyah. That's in the realm of Asiyah. So Yud Kei Vav Kei, the bottom line is, Yud, Hashem's name, when you say Shmi, that's a reference to the 10 Spheres, and it's also a reference to what? To the 4 realms. The Inyan Zeh, this idea that Hashem's name of Yud Kei Vav Kei is related to each one of the four realms, to the 4 realms, and also to the 10 Spheres. It's not only in reference to the detailed or the defined Elam Atzilus as we know it. When you normally refer to the 4 realms of Atzilus, B'ri, Yitzirah, Asiyah, we're talking about what? Towards the, as it were, after the Tzimtzum, after the revelation of the Kav, after you go through the world of chaos, and so on and so forth, you come to the 4 realms, Atzilus, B'ri, Yitzirah, Asiyah. That's known as Elam Atzilus HaProti. But then there's also Elam Atzilus HaKloli, the general Elam Atzilus, which is much higher. If you remember, we learned in Basi Legani, in the first Maimon of Tavshin Yud Aleph, that, for example, when we talk about Malchus, Malchus is Shechina, meaning Hashem manifesting himself and coming down, revealing himself in actuality to a lower realm, and that is contextual. It's at each level in its context. So you have Malchus of Asiyah, for example, Malchus of Bria, Malchus of Atzilus, you have Malchus of Ein Sof. Right? You even have Malchus, as he explained in Basi Legani, before the Tzimtzum. Meaning to say, the idea of revelation, communicating and revealing yourself to the lower level, that would be Malchus. Similarly, in Atzilus, and as I mentioned before, this entire Seder Shtalshalos, this chain order of creation, is a template which repeats itself in every realm and every level in its context. So therefore, you have Olam Atzilus, a realm of Atzilus, with the characteristics of Atzilus, at a higher level, Atzilus the Klolos, Lifnei HaTzimtzum, which is before the first contraction. There also you have Yeshnei Inyan Hashem Havaya, you also have the idea of Hashem's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei. Obviously, Yud Kei Vav Kei at a much higher level. So in other words, you have Hashem's very essence, which is not definable at all. Once there is revelation, Ein Sof, you already have this, at least notionally, in a very fine notional strands, you have this idea of Yud Kei Vav Kei. So that is Hashem's name. So the point is that Hashem's name is that which is outside of Hashem's essence, from the first point of revelation and on. So this is Shmi. What's Nikra B'Shmi? That which is called by my name. That is a reference Koyal Neshamas Yisrael. That's a reference to the Jewish souls. Shehem Nikroim v'Nimshochim B'Shmi, which are called and drawn down into Shmi, into my name, into Yud Kei Vav Kei. Now, since my name, a name of a person, for example, is lower than the person is drawn through the name, right? But the person is higher and the name is lower. Similarly here, Yud Kei Vav Kei is lower than what is being called and being drawn into the name. Nimtzat comes out from this, what's the sum total? Sheneshamas Yisrael hem l'mayla m'shem havaya, that the souls of Jews are higher, are beyond the Shem Havaya, Hashem's name of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Even as Yud Kei Vav Kei is what? In the world of Atzilus. Va'afilu Atzilus the Klolos. It means that the souls of Jews are even beyond and higher than Atzilus as it is in the general, at the general level, meaning Yud Kei Atzilus as it is even before the Tzimtzum. It means to say, Va'afilu Atzilus the Klolos, Hurak Shem Bilvad l'gabe Neshamas Yisrael. Even Atzilus the Klolos is merely what? Like a name relative to the souls of Jews. Just another few lines. V'hainu. This means the Avsha Atzilus u'miloshen Esther v'samochloi. Although the word Atzilus comes from the same verb as what? Near him. Etzle, near him. Ubifrat Atzilus, the Klolos, and particularly when we talk about what? The realm of Atzilus, as it is in the very highest level, even before the Tzimtzum, it's certainly close, as it were, to Hashem. Mikol makam yesh beha inyan the hatzala b'afrosha. Nevertheless, Atzilus is also from the expression was mentioned before of separating. It's outside, as it were, of Hashem. It's the first point, Hashem's essence. It's the first point of Hashem's revelation, as opposed to Hashem's very essence. Therefore, even at that level, even at the first point of revelation, Hashem's revelation, is also only like a name, Legabe Neshamas Yisrael, relative to the souls of Jews, which are beyond this level of Shmi, of Hashem's revelation. The point being, bottom line, that Yud Kei Vav Kei is the first point of creation, first point of revelation, and the neshama of a Jew is rooted even beyond that, rooted in the very essence of Hashem. And from this, the Rebbe is going to follow on that, and Kvedi, as mentioned before, Kavod is Torah, right? Hashem's honor. So that is also, as it were, outside of Hashem's very essence. So the neshama of a Jew is rooted within the very essence of Hashem, and therefore a Yid has the power to bring greater revelation and greater divine energy into Torah and into Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei. But we'll continue with Hashem tomorrow.